with these maps of Palestine, or very similar versions of these maps, the South African Jewish Board of Deputies, the South African Zionist Federation, the Israeli lobby generally, had put pressure on the advertising company that was commissioned by Africa for Palestine. And that pressure was to remove the billboard. The billboard company, Continental Outdoor Media, initially did succumb to this pressure. However, fortunately, we were then at that stage represented by the Legal Resource Center. We went to the High Court of South Africa, which then declared that the pressure that was put on was unlawful, and that the company has to ignore the Israeli lobby and put the billboards back up. So the Israeli lobby has a tendency of trying to put pressure, but we are convinced and we are confident that if any such claims are made this time around, that it would be easily addressed.
Yes, and also what's interesting is I'm looking at the picture right now on the screen in front of me, Mohammed, and together with Africa for Palestine, we see the ANC logo, we see the SACP logo, we see the COSATU logo on these billboards as well. So it's very, very encouraging that, we've seen the likes of the SACP, the ANC, and the trade union coming through in supporting this venture.
Yes, I mean, look, we all have issues with various organizations, but at the end of the day, the ANC is the ruling and governing party of this country. COSATU is the largest trade union federation in South Africa, if not on the African continent. The SACP is one of the oldest political organizations in Africa. These are not Mickey Mouse organizations that are lending their names to this awareness-raising initiative. And we mustn't underestimate the power and the ability and capacity of such public awareness-raising campaigns, because awareness-raising leads to public action. Public action leads to political pressure, and political pressure eventually leads to state intervention. And these are the ways in which Africa for Palestine and other solidarity groups makes use of advocacy tools, makes use of billboards, makes use of promoting the Palestinian cause. And I think that we can all agree that in the last 10 or 15 years, South Africans have become more and more braver in their stand and in their support of the Palestinian people. We are no more scared of being pro-Palestine, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in corporate, or whether it's in the public sector. And this bravery, this resilience, this voice from the streets has translated into the corridors of state power, where you have the president of this country. Last year, for example, was on a trip to France, one of the most anti-Palestinian countries in the world, who declared that he too considers Israel an apartheid state. And so these billboards must be put into the larger context. And that larger context is that we are building a movement and that we are putting pressure both for our government, but also for other institutions to take stronger action to hold Israel accountable. The murder of Shireen was absolutely horrific. The way in which her funeral was treated by Israeli forces was absolutely brutal. But we know that her killing was not an isolated incident. Just a day or two ago, Khufaran Warasna, 31-year-old Palestinian journalist, who was on her first day on the job, was shot dead by an Israeli soldier. Last night, we went to bed knowing that Bilal Qabha, a 24-year-old Palestinian, was shot dead by an Israeli soldier. This morning, we woke up to know that Ayman Muhaysan, a 21-year-old Palestinian, was shot dead by an Israeli soldier in Bethlehem. Palestinians are refusing to submit on their knees. They are standing on their feet, fighting in many ways, not only for their freedom, but also in our name. And so our little efforts are really part of a larger contribution towards the liberation of the Palestinians.
Well, when you're talking about the contribution, in fact, I had a Dr. Tariq Tahboob last night, a medical specialist and very, very dynamic, born in Al Khalil and now residing in the United Kingdom. and he spoke highly of the South Africans. He actually made special mention of the late Imam Abdullah Harun and his role as well. So the Palestinians certainly do acknowledge South Africa, the South African solidarity with Palestine organizations like Africa for Palestine. And also at the same time, you mentioned Shireen Abu Akli, and I see that the billboards have been running under the campaign. You can kill the messenger, but not the message. And also looking ahead at this media memorial picket that is taking place tomorrow at 11 o'clock, Mohammed.
Yes, there will be a protest, a picket, a memorial event in Pretoria outside the embassy of Israel, an embassy that we are working to have shut down. And we are urging not only members of the public, but specifically and particularly journalists and members of the media to join us in remembering a fallen hero, Shireen Abu Akleh. And so this invite is for all members of the media as well as members of the public to join us tomorrow in Pretoria. But also I'd like to just thank the various supporters and communities, because the kind words that are given by Palestinians towards South Africa is really not towards just one particular organization. It's really towards the thousands, the hundreds of thousands of community members across the country, and most definitely the listeners of Salam Media, who really give the muscle and the strength to the Palestinian solidarity cause in this country.
Well, shukran for that. I just want to reinforce the memorial picket that is taking place tomorrow. It will be at the Israeli Embassy in Pretoria, 428 Kings Highway, Linwood, and this is in remembrance of the Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akli. Mohammed, as always, we thank you. Jazakallah for your time. We wish you well, and please take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Muhammed Desai joining us this morning, and on that note, as we head towards closure, towards the end of another broadcast on News and Views, let us remember that the month of Zulqa'dah has set in, today being the 1st of Zulqa'dah, and of course, looking ahead over the next few weeks, I'm sure a lot we will be covering in the build-up to Hajj 2022. And with that, I'm going to be signing off once again. It's been an absolute pleasure being in your company, in the company of our Salam Media viewers, our listeners, and also One Nation 88.9 FM. Wonderful as ever having you with us. Next up is going to be the recitation of Juz 1 and Juz 2 recited by Sheikh Sudais. The time is just gone 10 a.m. I'm signing out from myself and the team. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.